How good are you with the ocarina? You probably want to improve your skills and you don't know what your next step should be. I think I can help you there. I've made a rough framework of 5 skill levels to playing the ocarina, from your very first toot to going pro. We'll discuss these 5 levels, indicators to know which level you're at, and how you can improve to reach the next level. Remember to subscribe, and let's get started with an honorable mention, level 0. It's not you, it's the ocarina. Oops! Did you buy an ocarina of crap? Like the $15 ceramic Ocarina of Time replicas that you see on Amazon? Or any other variety of very cheap ceramic ocarinas? Are you struggling to get it to play in tune or even play the whole range? In this case, there's a very good chance it's the instrument and not you. Watch my videos on which ocarinas not to buy, as well as check out some of my recommendations for great starter plastic ocarinas, like the Night by Noble. Focus, please. But now, let's go to level 1. Your first good ocarina. You just got an ocarina, hooray! If this is your very first ocarina and you want to get started playing it, here are some steps that I recommend to start getting better. First, practice covering the holes fully without any air leaking. When you get started, it's really easy to cover the holes but have a little bit of leakage and play out of tune or the wrong note. Notice that I'm not covering the 2 small sub holes. These are mainly for playing below the range or some sharps and flats. Focus on the main 10 holes, the 8 on top for your fingers and the 2 thumb holes on the bottom. Additionally, practice just holding notes and trying to stay in tune. At least maintain some pitch, like... By holding a note and maintaining a pitch, you're training your body to have better breath control. And if that's new to you, good! These are steps you can take to start learning how to improve your control of your breath and play the ocarina proficiently. Additionally, learn some basic scales on your ocarina. If you have an ocarina in the key of C, learn the C major scale. As you start with a scale, get comfortable playing the full range of the ocarina. You don't need to necessarily get comfortable with all the sharps and flats if you're just starting out, but get comfortable playing the full range of the ocarina so that you can start playing music with ocarina tabs. Ocarina tabs are a form of notation that show the fingering of the ocarina to play a note. Sheet music that uses ocarina tabs, unless it's attached to like actual sheet music, is fairly rudimentary and it relies on you knowing the song, at least internally. At least having heard the song before, but they are a great way for new players to start learning. If you simply Google the terms ocarina tabs, you'll find a ton of free resources. The first result that I found, tabs-ocarina.com, tons of free songs. I just went on tabs-ocarina.com. You can go to the ocarina tab list and then sort by score. Click that twice, then you get the 100% highly rated songs. And then you can find something that you know or have heard so that you can start at least trying to play music. Let's do everybody's favorite songs for learning guitar, Smoke on the Water. Hooray! Playing any instrument for the first time is tough, even with ocarinas where the learning curve is comparably easier compared to many instruments. However, I would wager that someone with the time, a functioning ocarina, and the resources can do all of this in about an hour or 2, if not a few days or a week. Also concerning ocarina tabs, I think they're a great way for people with no musical background to start reading sheet music in some way, but I highly recommend starting to learn sheet music as early as possible because that will open you to far more music and far more correct notation than anything else. Tabs are a great stepping stone, and they're also a great accompaniment if there's like tabs alongside actual sheet music. But you can worry about sheet music at level 2, basic proficiency. At level 2, you can probably play your ocarina without thinking about the notes that your fingers are doing. Stuff like not pausing to remember which thumb hole you lift up first as you're ascending past the scale. You can probably also play songs pretty competently using ocarina tabs. Maybe you're starting to learn sheet music. And at this point, because you can play the ocarina to a very basic degree of proficiency, you're probably thinking about getting more ocarinas in different ranges or styles. I think a lot of people can go from level 1 to level 2 within the span of literally a few hours or a couple days, at least in terms of playing the correct notes while reading tabs. That said, basic proficiency is very much just the basics. From this point, the easy to learn part of the ocarina is essentially over. A lot of people get to level 2 and are perfectly satisfied with their skill set and don't really care about going above and beyond, and that's fine. If you only bought your ocarina as a prop for a cosplay or as a very casual hobby, more power to you. You're still helping ocarina makers. But if you feel like basic proficiency describes you and you want to improve, here are the next steps that I would recommend. First, invest in a method book. I think the one by my friend David Ramos is great for beginners. I'll have a link in the description for that. Next, whether using that method book or online resources, start learning how to read sheet music. I would also recommend that you start playing alongside a piano or some other tuning checker, so then you can start playing notes more consistently in tune. For example, I'm on virtual piano. I'm gonna hold a C. So just start playing alongside something that is definitely in tune so that you can start to play more consistently in tune. Also, if you're just advancing from your very first plastic ocarina like the Knight by Noble, this is the point where you might want to consider getting a solid ceramic ocarina. Songbird Ocarina has a lot of great options. If you use code ANDY10 with them, you get a discount and help support the channel. I'm not partnered, I just support their products and I get a cut if you buy through me. So if you have a method book, you can read sheet music now. You're playing more in tune and you're starting to expand your ocarina collection. You're probably at level 3. Getting serious. At level 3, you are past basic proficiency. You're starting to play in a more advanced level. You're developing a lot of expressiveness when you play, not just playing the correct notes. You can read sheet music, even if it's not quite easy or supernatural for you. And you're starting to get multiple ocarinas in your collection. While you can get from level 1 to level 2 within a few hours of practice if you have the right resources and are really dedicated, I'd say to get from level 2 to level 3, it takes a year of casual practice or a couple months of really dedicated practice. In my ocarina journey, I probably got to level 3 within the first 2 months. But that's because I already had 4 years of middle school band experience playing trumpet under my belt, so I could already read sheet music and I already knew how to play wind instruments. On top of that, I got my very first ocarina right before summer break, so I was practicing like 4 hours a day, annoying the heck out of my family. I was obsessed and I got quite good very quickly at the ocarina. But realistically, if you're practicing for at least an hour per week in total, like 4 15-minute practice sessions, assuming you're taking it at a very casual pace, you'll probably get to level 3 after around a year. So let's say getting to level 3 takes about 300 hours of solid practice. This is when you go from just playing the instrument fairly correctly to developing real musical skill. So if level 3 describes you with reading sheet music, starting to play quite competently and expanding your collection, here's what I recommend to improve to get even more serious with the instrument and reach an advanced level of proficiency. If you have a method book, that will probably give you better and more specific advice than whatever I'm saying. But first, get serious playing your scales, arpeggios, stuff like that. Actual like musical theory stuff. Because the more competently you can play your scales, the more competently you can play music. Your fingers just get used to getting in position. And you develop a better sense of what breath pressure to use on your ocarinas at different notes. Next, beyond just playing music that you enjoy, play music that challenges you and learn it. It feels so good when a piece goes from impossible to I can do this. Specifically for me, the song that made me really realize I could play the ocarina was the Wind Waker title theme. I watched a video of David playing it back in like 2012, and I was like, I want to learn that. So I found sheet music and I learned it. It was tough. It took me a few days to get it, but now it's one of my favorite songs to practice on. The last thing I'd recommend is A, get a multi-chamber ocarina, and B, get good with it. If you're ever doing a solo performance with the ocarina, chances are you'll be using a double or a triple ocarina because of the extended range. 12-hole ocarinas have a similar range to the average person's singing voice, which is great for playing a lot of vocal music, but a lot of instrumental music, if you're playing like a piccolo or a flute piece on your ocarina, will require a lot more than an octave plus 5 in range. So get a multi-chamber ocarina and get good with it. And that will hopefully get you to level 4. Performance ready. At this level, you are probably good enough to record music, play in a performance, or even play in an ensemble. At level 4, whenever you play ocarina around like a random person, they will think that you're really good, and to other experienced ocarinists, they will recognize that you are also a skilled ocarina player. You can play with expression, and you probably actively seek out ways to perform and share your love of the ocarina. At level 4, you can safely call yourself an expert ocarinist. I would say that most people who play the ocarina seriously and stick with it for several years or longer get to this point. Just as the gap between level 2 and 3 is much longer than the gap between 1 and 2, this one's much longer again. Most people reach level 3 from anywhere between 100 and 300 hours of solid practice, which will take around a year depending on your musical background. But I would say people arrive at level 4 around the 4 to 5 year mark of consistent practice. I'd say that when I was invited to join Okabanda, I was at the cusp of level 4. I was very clearly a skilled ocarinist, but I was very lacking in the realm of playing challenging music. I mainly played music that I enjoyed at conventions, so it wasn't like I was challenging myself every practice session. But that all changed when I joined Okabanda. Before our first performances in 2017, we had a ton of really intense practice together. It was the heaps of practice on challenging music in an ensemble setting that got me to level 4 before our performances. For that trip, I actually did have really major imposter syndrome. I thought, I'm not good enough to be here. Everyone's a better musician than I am. Why did David pick me? But after practicing with everybody, a lot of that imposter syndrome did melt away because I did get better. I would say that I am still a level 4 ocarina player. So these are tips that I would give myself to improve, but they could apply to you too. First, practice sight reading music and improve your overall knowledge of music theory. Being able to sight read competently and correctly is a level 5 out of 5 musician skill. I don't think anyone can reach level 5 on any instrument if they cannot sight read fairly competently with at least 80% accuracy on most pieces, other than with super difficult pieces. Next, work on advanced techniques with your ocarina, like using breath and alternate fingerings to play dynamics. Here's an F. Here's a loud F using the fingering for an E and overblowing. And here's a quiet F playing an F sharp and underblowing. With ocarinas, your tuning is tied to your breath pressure, so overblowing makes you sharper and underblowing makes you flatter. And you can use that to your advantage to add dynamics to your ocarina playing. It is difficult, most people do not do this, but it's certainly a skill worth working on. Additionally, start learning range extension techniques. On a 12-volt alto C, you can consistently play the G above the high F, and then sometimes additional notes depending on your ocarina model, using a technique popularized by the Japanese ocarinist Milt. I have a separate video on advanced techniques which you can watch, but you can start incorporating these techniques into your practice and performing. Additionally, consider playing the ocarina in an ensemble, whether that's with a band of other instruments or like an ocarina septet like Okabanda. I would say that playing in a group was the #1 thing that improved my skill as an ocarinist, so it could do the same for you. Next, consider arranging music for the ocarina provided you have the musical theory knowledge, as well as considering learning additional musical instruments so you can play your own backing tracks while recording the ocarina. Working on your advanced skills consistently for a very long amount of time will probably get you to level 5. Actual pro. At level 5, you probably regularly perform your ocarina to an audience, whether that's online or in person. You actively find opportunities to perform or record music. When you practice music, you don't just practice to get it right. You practice to play a piece so well that it is impossible for you to play it wrong. You can competently sight read most music. You can incorporate advanced techniques into your playing fairly fluently, such as range extension techniques or alternate fingerings to play dynamics. But most of all, you play so well that you've developed a unique identity as an ocarinist, and you've developed a style and sound for playing that is uniquely yours. I am not a level 5 ocarinist. I think I'm a solid level 4, but I'm certainly not a level 5, and there's probably only a couple hundred level 5 ocarinists in the world. These are the people who are good enough to make playing the ocarina their career, whether or not they choose to do so. Like, look at the members of Gruppo Ocarinistico Budriese in Italy, David Ramos, and Japanese ocarina players like Milt. There's far more people I could list, but to these people, ocarina is life. There are level 5 players who don't make a career out of playing the instrument and just reach that level out of pure passion out of their hobby, but very, very few people reach this level on any instrument. You can be a level 4 performance-ready ocarinist, play professional gigs, and be an expert on the instrument. You could teach the instrument at level 4, but level 5 are the true masters. This is a skill level worth aspiring to, but it would probably take most people at least 10,000 hours of really good practice. I could not set a specific timeline in years that it would take for someone to reach level 5 on the ocarina. However, if you have a strong musical background, you can do so faster than others. If you have level 5 sight reading capabilities, that transfers to the ocarina. If you're a level 5 at another wind instrument, a lot of that also transfers to the ocarina. Most ocarinists never reach this level even if they have some level 5 skills. I've played the ocarina for over 12 years, and I can confidently say that I am not a level 5 ocarina player, because my flaw is that I don't spend enough time doing intentional practice on challenging music. But that all said, you don't have to reach the next level. If you're satisfied with your skill level and what it allows you to do with the ocarina, and you don't feel the pressure to improve, then don't overdo it. I know that I'm good enough to do all the things that I want to do with the ocarina, or I know what skills I need to develop to be able to do those things. I'll probably never reach level 5 because while ocarinas may be my thing, they are not my only thing. I don't aspire to be the best in the world, I aspire to be good enough to help guide other people on their ocarina journey. I'm skilled enough to play in an ensemble, I'm knowledgeable enough to make these videos, and it's my objective to make the ocarina more accessible to as many people as possible. That's enough for me, and if all you want to do is to learn how to play the songs from Ocarina of Time and nothing else, then that's good enough for you. Watch my video on not overdoing hobbies, on why if something is a hobby, you should just focus on enjoying that hobby, not making more out of it than there needs to be. That said, if you want to improve, I hope you consider my recommendations. Thank you to my patrons, especially my $5 tier patron Joshua. You can support me for as little as $1 a month on patreon.com/Andy Cormier. Otherwise, leave a like, subscribe for more, comment your ocarina skill level as well as your plan to improve, and watch that video next. See you next time, and happy tooting.